Yeah, let me kick it off. Good evening and welcome everyone to Control Camp. For those who are new, you know the deal, but those who are just joining us, we are a community built for independent artists. I'm one of your hosts, Raj. Joining me are my co-hosts, Eric Campbell and Steph Fink. And we just thank you for joining us. We host rooms every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time where we interview industry guests and talk about how you can get your music into TV and film. And so get to know more about us and all the resources we have available over at controlcamp.com. And if you haven't already, be sure to tap the greenhouse at the top and follow our club so you'll be notified with every new room that we host. And today's camp, we'll be talking about something really, really special. We were excited, when we just kind of brainstorming just what we wanted to talk about. And in light of, Mental Health Awareness Month, we decided to do a share your tips night on just how you handle stress in the music industry. And before I get too far, I just wanted to say, before we get started, make sure you take a minute and tap the plus button at the bottom right of your screen and just ping a few people who you feel like might benefit from this topic because we just feel like it's going to be really, really, beneficial. It's no secret that the music industry can be a stressful place at time, and just in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, we thought it would be a great idea to just take a breath and discuss tools and tips for combating stress. And so, with that said, I'm gonna kick it over to Eric, and he's going to share a little bit more about what this night is going to look like for us.
Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, we're really excited. It's over the time that we've been in this, we've been doing these rooms weekly and sometimes multiple rooms a week. It's been really cool that we've got this community where I feel like we have this place where our community feels comfortable sharing, learning, growing together, and so this room we really wanted to make it more something where we're hearing from you, whether you are at any stage of the in the music industry, whether you're a first-time creator who's just getting started, if you're a seasoned professional, you've been working for a significant amount of time, no matter what level you are, we all deal with stress. And what we want to do, we want in this room, this is kind of a place to share this tip. We want to know, how you deal with it. What have you done? What are some of the tips, the tricks, tools, the quotes, the important reminders, how you handle it? And we think this is a way that we can kind of feed one another. We want to really, as with all our rooms, we want to keep this positive. We may have all had stressful situations. We want to focus tonight on the solutions. We want to focus on, sharing maybe something you've gone through, situation you've been in. If you want to share general, if you want to be specific, but we like it always to lead to how did you deal with it? What was the solution? How did you um, navigate through it? And then we think that'll help. We'll help each other that way. Steph, what do you want to add to that? Well, as I turn hand raising on.
I think, we've created a really, our community, not just us, but really everyone in the audience and our entire community has created this amazingly safe space to have discussions about things. And, stress is something that we all deal with. And it's one of those little things that, whether you're just starting out or you're a really experienced creator, we all deal with it at different levels. And a lot of the problems are, some are the same, but they're all relatable. So I'm really excited to hear from, kind of everybody on their journey and see where it leads us.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, this is really about you and the audience. All right, I see some hands coming up. This is really about you, and we're going to be more kind of listening. We'll chime in. We've all, the three of us as moderators, and have all dealt with stress in our own way, and we definitely will chime in there. And Carter, I know that you have some affinity towards this topic as well. Do you want to share anything about that, or how it's on your heart in particular?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Hey, everybody. Um, yeah, look, I've had a lot of exposure uh, to mental health issues in my life. Um, certain family members have had real trouble and are still having real trouble. I'm happy to see my therapist every couple of weeks, but I, I I think my special handle on it right now is that I'm on the board of directors for a mental health agency called Open Paths Counseling Center, and it serves. We concentrate on serving underserved communities, people of color, women, families with children, LGBTQIA, uh, and meeting people where they are. Uh, so it's a topic that I'm frequently discussing, and also is very close to my heart.
That is awesome. I really appreciate you being here and sharing. So, and Lauren, see you on stage. How are you today? Lauren, you there? I'm not getting any audio. Is anyone else hearing Lauren?
No, I'm not hearing anything.
We're not getting any audio from you, Lauren. He stepped out. I'm sure he'll
He's
fix
going to
it.
leave and come back.
Yeah, he'll fix that. All right. So anyway, the way we'll do this is
There we go.
hey,
Lauren?
Lauren,
Yeah, hey.
how are you?
How's that working?
That's much better.
Perfect.
Much
Now we
better.
got you.
How are you
Great,
doing today?
thanks. I'm doing well, thank you. It's nice to be up here.
Awesome. Awesome. Is there any, before we start pulling people up, is there anything that you want to say in regards to just the topic and any personal focus that you have on helping other people with stress, or advice that you want to start the night out with?
Well, I mean, I'm certainly not a medical professional by any means, but I think anyone that's worked in the music industry for any period of time has undergone, most likely, some sort of stress, whether it's you're either working too hard or you're not working enough, or, the projects are just intense. But especially in the last 14 months, when many people um, have not been able to work and they've had no control over their life, literally their financial life or their social life, it's become amazingly stressful. My sister, for example, is a studio musician in LA. And, for a year, she literally got no calls. There was no sessions happening. And, she didn't know what to do with herself. So I think for me, just over the last many years, been maintaining awareness about my mental health. That includes um, has included therapy, and definitely includes exercising and meditation, just to maintain and be aware of what's happening and to be able to manage stress when it comes up.
That's awesome, Lauren. Thank you so much for sharing.
Eric, if I can jump in and point out one more thing too. I think we talked about this in another room, but worth kind of repeating here is that stress is not always bad. It could be good stress too, like Lauren was kind of alluding to, the deadlines and the pressures of getting things done, the anticipation and that kind of adrenaline that you get from waiting, if you got a project, if you didn't, when you do get a project, the pressure of it being so big. Sometimes the pressure comes from a really amazing place, but our body manifests it and our mind manifests it the same. So, it's not all negative all the time, but can lead to, some things if we're not careful about that. So I want to put that out there because we could talk about those things tonight too.
That's true. Stress can be a motivator as much as a debilitator.
That's right.
Both very, very good points. This is awesome. And I want to repeat what Lauren said, just from the room where none of us on the stage are counselors, actually have, none of us on the stage are counselors. And this is, where this is not a position where we're offering any type of mental health advice. What this is for for the room to come forward and, well, whatever's helped you to handle the stress, to deal with tense situations, whatever things that you can share that you think would be good for the room, we definitely want to hear that. So as we bring you up, um, uh, you know, help us keep this in a positive attitude by going right to, this is a tip I'd love to share with the room, and this is something that's helped me. And then let's go into. I'm really excited to hear what we're going to offer. So I'm gonna pull a couple of people up, and then if you have a tip or anything, just raise your hand, and we'll go from there. We're going to start with Lisa. Hey, Lisa, how are you?
I'm good. I'll just share that, with dealing with stress, just try to figure out what triggers your stress and, stay away from that. But I agree with what helps me is meditation, walking, and being able to talk to maybe that one person, whether it's your therapist or somebody that you're super close to, and be able to let all of that stress go and be honest about what that is. And then try to find a solution that can help you deal with that stress. So those are some of the things that I try to do through this, the times that we've had over the last year, but really trying to be open and honest about what's causing your stress and stay away from it and try to find a solution for that. So mine is meditation and really being able to be open and honest with that one person that can help you de-stress. So that's just my tip.
That's great, Lisa. Do you, with meditation, is this something that you find that you try to do? Do you have a routine, or is it as you feel tension building up and you're like, I need to take a moment? How do you incorporate it personally?
It could be either way. This might sound crazy, but a lot of times YouTube has like a 3 hour quiet meditation that can help you sleep and talk you down from your day. And before you know it, you slept a great 8 hours because you had this running in the background and not even knowing how it affects you on a good level. Just having something that's quiet that can ease your mind and de-stress you with a quiet voice or quiet water or anything like that. So it just depends on how stressful it is for me. But I always find that those things help me as well. And just deep breathing as well. I have an Apple Watch that tells you to breathe because we don't take enough time for ourselves. Sometimes you're going and going. You didn't eat lunch all day and it's 11 hours later and you haven't even taken care of yourself. So just be mindful that you have to take 5 minutes, 20 minutes to just take care of yourself.
I love that. Eric, as a new Apple Watch user, are you now getting into like the deep breathing and the stand up tools at all?
I am. I actually, I was doing breathing kind of on my own prior to having the watch, but it was just more like sporadic, and so having I didn't have anything giving me a reminder. So I really like having a couple times a day stopping me. I like the activity rings saying hey, have you stood up every hour, because I do sit. I'm in the studio from morning to night, and I'm sitting all the time, and so having a reminder to get up and stretch my legs is really really good. And yeah, so I'm loving it. I'm really loving the prompting.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah,
small thing, having, just as studio musicians, especially that whole like studio butt, being glued to your chair for so many hours, even circulation is like that little thing. I love
yeah,
this. I'm going
yeah,
to debrief our room after and make a list.
Oh, that's a great idea.
yeah. Yeah, so that's just my takeaway. I just be mindful that you got to take care of yourself too. That's the biggest things. I know we try to do things for everyone else. As creative people, maybe we're all codependent. I don't know. I know I am to a degree, but just make sure to just be mindful to take care of yourself. And so that's my tip for the day.
Great tip, Lisa.
Thank you so
Yep.
much,
Thanks,
Lisa.
guys. Yep.
All right, next we have Eric. How are you doing, Eric?
Hey everyone. So one thing I'll do is, I mean, it's really simple, but it's very effective. Just step away from the screen, step away from the computer. Go and, I mean, for instance, I'll go running or exercising. That's a really good way to kind of just forget about the stresses of modern day life and just clear your head. Also, meditation is another one that I've recently taken up. That's very very helpful. As on for maybe like more rare, but like almost like a reset. A couple times a year, I will go and I will do sensory deprivation actually, and I only do it a couple times a year, but that's like a reset that you can do that'll just to get all the thoughts and troubles and worries kind of out of you and kind of help you go back with a fresh mind.
Eric, can you tell us, other Eric, sorry, can you tell us more about what sensory deprivation is for those of us who might not know in the room?
Yeah, so basically, you have a tank that's filled with I can't remember the name of the salt, but it basically makes it so that you float. It's uh, the name escapes me, but it makes it so that you're floating in the water, and you just kind of lay there and you float there. The water is temperature controlled so that it matches your body temperature perfectly, so that you don't really have that sensation of feel. There's also, no lights and no sound, but the last two you can actually toggle on or off. Usually, depends. Some locations don't allow it, but most do. So what it does is it basically takes away your senses of sight and sound and feeling, and just kind of, or almost forces you to go like into your own head and just sort things out.
That's that's pretty trippy. How long? I don't know if you mentioned. I might have missed it. How long does that usually last?
Usually, it's an hour. But I mean, of course, you can get out, earlier than that, or you can extend it. If you generally, if you book like another hour, usually places will do like an hour block. But I know for some people they can only do like a certain amount, so they can only do like half an hour, and that's totally fine. Um, yeah,
Hey, could I just add on something that I forgot to mention?
Go for it, Lauren.
Thank you. There's something I discovered in this past year that it helps with stress, but it also helps with focusing on the work, and it's something that's called the Pomodoro technique. I don't know if anybody's heard of it, but what it is, it's sort of like a time management thing where you're when you're working on for long periods of time, you work for 25 minutes and then you take a 5 minute break. You literally step away from where you are physically and distract yourself, do anything. You walk, you just stare out the window. And studies have proven that that helps you not only relax, but it helps you learn better too. It helps you focus on your work better. It's called the Pomodoro technique, and it's like a time management thing that involves 25 minutes working, 5 minute break. I've found it to be very effective.
What a great tip. Thanks so much, Lauren. That's awesome. And thank you, Eric, for sharing that. The sensory deprivation is really, really cool. Just one more follow up, Eric. How did you find that doing that? I think you said once or twice a year. How did you find that doing that helped you in terms of stress or any other mental health management, or just how did it tie back into kind of your own personal reset? I think the words you used.
yeah, yeah. So I think there's daily stresses, right? There's day to day stresses, and eventually you go to bed, you wake up, and it's. But then I think there are also long term stresses in our life, like things that kind of linger over a longer period of time, and that's where it really is useful. Um, it helps me manage stress because, at least for me, it enables me to kind of take away all the senses and kind of like almost like go through my mind, almost like going through like a filing cabinet, and just like organizing everything and kind of saying, okay, I need to. This is going to be my next big step that I'm going to do for so and so. So it kind of allows me to take a minute and just like organize everything. And yeah.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Eric, for sharing that. Really, really cool. Appreciate that. All right. Let me PTR. Next we got up Tiffany. Hey, Tiffany. What
Hi
tip?
guys,
Hey, what tip do you want to share today?
I'm awake. um,
You were right.
yeah. Well, I love what Dara said about walking because in the morning that's what I do too. Either I run or I walk, but and I write music at the same time, sometimes at night. I just wanted to share that there is, to me, like there is the stress. It can be a general stress, but there's the stress of when you're independent and you're still in this place of creating opportunities and you're waiting on and you try to hustle. um, for me, I think the most source of stress has been some days where I feel I don't do enough, or I nothing is moving, or so sometimes I feel the stress that I put on myself is actually stronger than the stress of the industry itself. And so I found, when this happens, I try to. So of course there is the exercise and the air, like going outside and step out of the computer. And I heard also of this 25/5 that I try to do, but I haven't yet. But so that's, for me, that's the general. But when I have this pressure of myself, I feel that either, for example, singing, like just making music for pleasure, like singing, either on Clubhouse or online, or to have like something to give to someone, or sometimes it's stupid, but I'm gonna walk outside and listen to music, either someone else's music that I know, that I've been, that I know personally, so I know it's a person that I've been watching growing or whatever, or even sometimes I re-listen to stuff that I did, and then I was like, yeah, I did that, this is my work, and it's been, and so just to like settle and acknowledge the things that I've been doing and moving, while I'm, walking or whatever, so just to reset. And there's one thing I try to do also. um I don't know how much in the year, but I think it's great when you're able to like just go away for like, but in a place where there's not much, like, not much to have, like just be with the nature or something, like try to be with yourself a bit. So that's something that I really um benefit for, just calming down from all of this.
I
I
love it.
hope it helps.
That's really helpful. I'm similar, Tiffany. I one of my best de-stressors, or best ways to just reset, is going for if it's a small hike, or going somewhere where I'm kind of outdoorsy, just a long walk through some place that puts me kind of back to nature. Does a lot for me. That and a long road trip, but between those two, those are probably my best like ways to clear my head.
I have a question for you guys. Since you work a lot on like briefs or whatever, how do you deal with like the pressure of a timing thing, like when you're not really inspired, or when you feel how do you, when you face that, do you like step away, do you like force yourself, do you like, I'm curious about this kind of stress that you could have.
I, I see Jason Gleed in the room, and we asked a similar question, I think, 2 weeks ago when we were in the production room, and he said, like, he sits in the corner and cries for an hour before starting every brief. So,
That's a good stress reliever.
yeah, totally.
About the briefs.
I'm sorry, who was that?
Oh, sorry, it's
Casey.
Hey, Casey, what'd you say?
I just wanted to chime in about the briefs, just because I personally feel like the briefs with the short deadlines are really stressful, but at the same time there is this release about it, because you know that you don't have time to overthink that, and that the stress is going to be short-lived. You're going to do it, you're going to do the best you can, and you're going to turn it in, and then it's going to be over until they come back with changes at least.
I agree. I'm surprised, and it's something that I'm continually surprised at how hyper focused I get when there's a deadline, and it's something about a deadline that somebody else imposes, because I impose deadlines on myself all the time, and then I blow them, miss them, and just keep it moving. But somebody else says, "Hey, I need this tomorrow," and all of a sudden my ideas are crystallized. I make fast decisions, and so I'm still analyzing what that is, but in terms of the stress of it, I don't. I I, I, it's hard for me. There is a. I don't think it's a level. I think for me personally, I think I thrive more on the challenge, and I think I see the challenge, and it's something that counteracts for me, um, the nervousness or what if I miss this. It's because for some reason I think I don't know if deep down it's this people pleasing thing or whatever, but it's like I can't I gotta make it. So I know I have to make it. I'm going to make it. And so I need a solution to figure out how to do it. And that's what creativity is creating solutions to, difficult problems. And the solution for all these years, the solutions just keep coming in those situations. And so now I've had it enough where I just trust that it's going to happen. And I think so that over time, I think is
You
different.
it's you said something there, Eric, that like as I was thinking about the question that Tiffany asked, when it comes to short deadlines, we got to meet the brief needs. I guess the question is like is the stress coming from just the deadline of can I meet the deadline, or is it am I is what I'm doing good enough? 'Cause I feel like there's a lot of emotions. At least I've experienced different emotions when it comes to just music creation in general, where sometimes you run up against like a creative wall in a sense. It's like I don't know where to go. I don't know how to kind of get out of this. I feel like this song isn't going anywhere, and I got a deadline crunch or whatever. um, and so one thing that I've started to recognize is just what thoughts and kind of what's that inner dialogue. If I'm feeling like I can't do it, or like I'm not able to do it, or like I'm not creative enough to get this or something like that, then I'm trying to recognize those thoughts and speak to them in a sense where it's just like, but I always write good songs, or like, or not you say always write good songs, but I always figure it out. You know what I mean? It's like I've been here before. You know what I mean? Like if I've done it before, I could do it again. It's like, this isn't new. You know what I mean? And then it kind of gets me to a space of creative problem solving where it's like, okay, let me try, this different technique. Instead of trying to follow these rhyme words, let me just write down ideas or themes or whatever. You know what I mean? Like I just start moving into a more creative space of solution oriented rather than like stress, anxiety. I got to this thing. It comes more of a, like Eric was saying, like that creative challenge, and I start to look for the solutions rather than focusing and talking to myself about what's not working in this thing, or how much looking at the clock and all that kind of stuff.
I think
Yeah,
that's great.
makes
I
sense.
think if I can sum up kind of and also highlight a couple of things that were sort of glazed over in the two amazing answers you guys just gave, starting backwards with Daraj, having confidence in yourself, and really making an effort. And it does actually. There's an artist named Andy Grammer. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with him. He sings that song "Keep Your Head Up." And I'm not mentioning it was that, but something he said at a concert once was very profound. He gets made fun of a lot because he's very positive. He's like a super good attitude, positive guy. And he said at a showcase, like a private showcase for like radio people once, he said, I might not be the bad boy and I might not be whatever, but it takes a lot of effort to be this nice. It takes a lot of effort to be this positive and to have this positive outlook. And I think about it and I do it intentionally and consciously every day. And I was like, wow, that is profound. It's so easy, especially with the way the world is, to be negative and to feel bad and all those things. And I'm not saying we don't feel our feelings, but it was the first time someone ever just said, hey, it takes a lot of effort to smile, it takes extra effort to keep it positive. So I think that's sage advice that you guys were just giving there. I also think for me, when I get stuck creatively, phone a friend. And I think that's another common theme for tonight. Having accountability, like Eric was saying, I want to touch base on that because I think that's super smart. Someone else before said, hey, we do for others, and we're really good. Lisa, I think, said it before, we're really good at doing for others. We're not always good at treating ourselves with that same respect. So having accountability and having those people in your life that can hold you accountable to those things. And those could be creative partners. They don't have to be therapists or professionals, just someone in your life who's going to be, hold you to be accountable for things. So if it means someone else have, helping to impose deadlines on you or things like that, I think that's a really smart thing. And then also when you get creatively stuck, I always say just phone a friend. Sometimes it's good to just vent. Sometimes you just, need a friend to talk to. But even creatively, it's like, man, especially when we're doing like kids stuff, Eric and Daraj and I wrote a really hard brief, you know, for kids about potatoes the other day. I'm like, we were all like, man, are you kidding me? We don't know what we're going to write about potatoes. And it was like super stressful deadline, like so fast. So that thing about getting stuck is a very real thing. And also writing a song you might not want to write, when to turn down that gig. All those things are very real. I always find I was stressed about writing about potatoes, so I called Eric and Daraj and went, guys, you got any ideas about potatoes? And we all laughed, which makes things a lot better. Sometimes sharing that stress is nice. So
Such
Thank you,
good
Yeah,
Beth.
points.
That was great.
Thank you,
yeah, I can
Tiffany.
add to that. By the way, hi guys. It's been a while since I've seen some
What
of you.
up,
Been
Tommy?
missing you. One of the things that I look at is you look at the things you can control, you eliminate the things you can't control, and you can control your attitude, you can control your effort, you can control your energy, you can control your process, you can control, how you're going to handle the adversity. What you can't control is you can't control the deadlines. You can't control if the song's going to be what they want or not. You can't control if they take it or not. You can't control the outcome. And so even when I'm doing all of my stuff with sport athletes and all those things, it's amazing what we try to control that creates stress that we have absolutely control over. And so I just break it into really quickly when I start to stress, is this something I can control or is it something I can't? And I then try to refocus myself on those two or three things and get my attitude back and my energy back and my focus back and let the results be what the results are going to be. Because so many times we think we're not going to get something, we get it. We think we are going to get something, we don't get it. Very rarely does life end up being like we think it's going to be. So I just try to let go of that part and just control the parts I can control.
I think that's a really important thing, Tommy, um, because it's Carter talking. Um, we can control the stories we tell ourselves. That's kind of where this all comes to a head for me. It's like the things we say to ourselves, the kind of self talk. All of life is a narrative. It's all a story. And I've found myself, I've been on all sides. I've been in the studio. I've been writing. I've been an executive. I've been buying. I've been selling. And each one has its own special, unique set of challenges. And in every situation, I've had such I've been in I've told myself things I would never say to another person. You're a fucking idiot. Are you kidding me? I would never say these to another person, but I would say them to myself. And it took me a long time, and I still do it. But it's important to control the story you're telling yourself. So as you're saying, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. Um, that's how that goes. And as Eric was saying before, like solutions keep coming. If that's the story you tell yourself, you're going to be in a lot better of a situation than you would be if you're just like, "Oh, you're an idiot." And I just want us to treat ourselves with the kindness we would treat someone else that we love.
So good, Carter. Thank you, Carter. Thank you, Tommy. And great question, Tiffany. This is really a great great tip that you share. Really appreciate that. Before we continue, I want to introduce a really good friend of mine who's brand new to Clubhouse. She actually got on her account and logged on just to come sit in this room. Lisa Sims is I'm gonna let her introduce herself, but she works in the field. I thought it would be good to have somebody on stage with some expertise in case anything came up and that was necessary. So, Lisa, welcome to the stage.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much, Broham. I appreciate you inviting me to listen because that's basically what I wanted to do today. I wanted to make sure that you guys were being kind to yourselves, and I'm hearing you all say that, and I'm hearing you say that you need to take breaks and be kind to yourself and being in control, being making sure that you are not stressing out over things that you can't control. All of that stuff is good stuff to say to yourselves when you are under stress. And I can't imagine what you all go through as musicians in the industry because I've never done anything like that. But I do know a lot about managing stress. So you guys are saying all the right things. I'm just hoping and praying that you all are doing those things, really doing those and being kind to yourselves. I think it's so important that you're able to do that.
Thank you, Lisa.
So,
Hey,
yeah.
tell them about yourself real quick. Give them like a 30-second intro in terms of who you are.
Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot that part. I am Dr. Lisa Sims, and I am a psychologist slash postdoctoral fellow at Kent State University in Ohio. And I work mainly with college students right now, but I have experience working from children all the way up to elderly people. So I have experience working with people. So I'm really excited to be here and to listen to you all. And if you have any questions, specifically for me, please feel free to ask. I'm here for you. But I did want to listen to what you guys had to say as well. So that's all I have to say. I want to turn the stage back to the people.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here, sis.
No problem.
Eric, she says she can relate to all the way from KZ to me. That's what she said.
You're here representing the elderly, Tom. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah. I represent the OGs. I represent the OGs in the house.
That is awesome. All right, let's keep this moving. We've had some great tips, and I want to keep it going. We got a number of people on stage, so let's jump into Steve. Wait, let me PTR first. Make sure I got the right order. All right, I got Steven next. Steven, what tip do you want to share today?
Hey there, can you hear me? I'm just on a new phone. I want to make sure.
You're very clear. Very clear.
Okay, great. I've been going to couples therapy with my partner for a number of months. I think everyone should seek therapy. Somebody at Empire Records told me that they tell all their artists to seek therapy even if they're happy, to preemptively confront those things within themselves. And so I'd like to ask if, because Lauren mentioned he went to therapy, anybody wants to share therapeutic experiences, negative or positive. And the tip I would share, I've been getting into cold showers, and now I'm in the cold immersion. I'm lucky enough to live next to a body of water in Canada called the St. Lawrence River. So I go there in my car and just pull right up and just go in the water for like 5-10 minutes. And I've been doing that every day for a week now. So it's been helpful for me physically to relieve stress. So the cold water immersion thing has been really a great thing for me personally. And I'd love to hear anybody's thoughts on therapy.
Stephen, let me stop you for a second because I don't want to overlook that. I've read a lot of books where people talk about the cold showers. I know Tim Ferriss is a big advocate, and a lot of his followers are advocates of that. So can you share what benefits you've seen from that, or how does that tie to stress or de-stressing?
Yeah, so you can Google it and see all the scientific things. Like there's many physiological traits, that'll happen. Your heart slows down, your skin tightens, it helps to reduce tension in your body and all those sorts of things. For me personally, I'm a water sign and I love the water and I just feel so much calmer. And it's also like a mental thing of like you're so scared of the cold water, but then you just do it and then you get used to it. And then eventually it's like not even cold. And it's kind of like that in stress, like in a stressful situation, like in a battle, like the commander can't be stressed because then like he can't command. So that thing for me, in my experience, has really been powerful. And yeah, like it's just in our natural state because we live in privilege. Like most of the world doesn't have hot showers. Most of the world has only cold showers. So we live in a state of luxury. And so this is connecting us back to nature. And we need to, you can look it up online. That's my explanation. Sorry if I'm a bit rambly, but yeah, that's been my experience. It's been positive, and I'm looking to keep it up.
Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I love that everybody's coming has something like new and different. That's really, really cool. All right. Thank you so much for sharing that, Stephen. Steph, I see you jumping in.
Yeah, I think it's also a good time because we didn't say it before. Is like we're going to get a lot of amazing thoughts and a lot of amazing tips tonight. And what works for one person might not work for another. And Stephen was saying he's a water sign, and someone might be something else. So take in everything, consider all the things, but really do what's right for you. There's no one way. That's right, and that's the goal for tonight is just to hear what everybody does, so we can deduce for ourselves what is the best for us, because one man's trash is another woman's treasure. We don't know, right?
Good talk. Good talk.
I,
I agree with 100%. Daraj, what I
I, I think it's kind of cool that out of the tips we've gotten, two of them have been water related. I'm just pointing that out.
very true. All right. Let's see. We got Kristen Dream Tonic up next.
Hello. One of the biggest stressors, I think, as a DIY artist is kind of the variety of hats that we all have to wear, from branding and marketing to admin tasks and networking, and then actually, producing and songwriting and collaborating. So, I guess my question today is A, how do you decide how to divvy up those tasks throughout the week and throughout the month? And then B, how do you use technology to help? Like, I'm a huge fan of Trello and I'm constantly rearranging and updating my boards. But I'd love to hear about any other technologies that you use. I remember a couple of rooms ago, Diraj spoke of some project management apps that he was using. I'd love to kind of hear what you guys are loving right now.
I guess that's my cue. I think this is great. You touched on something I think that's really cool because, um, like in the music industry, as independents, it is kind of like, we step into this place where we do become, in a sense, all things. And it's good, I think, as we're growing to figure out how and what do we need to actually be taking on and what do we need to pull in, help with. And so I think, that's just a tip in and of itself, like delegation, like systems and processes, even though it sounds kind of very technical in a sense or, whatever, like for me, it relieves a lot of stress knowing when I have a particular task that needs to get done, and it's either scheduled, and put on a particular day where I know, like, hey, this is a really important thing. I need to get it out of my head, and I've allotted a particular time when it's going to get done. And that for me kind of relieves stress. But also, as we're, scaling and, just growing in our artistry, being able to identify just certain tasks that we do a particular way every time and it drives a result we're looking for, figuring out, how can we document this and maybe have somebody else kind of come in and, execute this task for us. Like those things, like I've personally seen those lift stress because I have the peace of mind knowing that the job is kind of getting done and momentum is still happening while I'm not always having to be there. But one book I'll recommend, that was really really helpful for me. I read it back in college and I still use some of its practice today. I might have mentioned it before. It's called, Eat That Frog. And so the whole idea of it is just finding, that task that is probably going to drive the most results for you, but you might be most likely to probably procrastinate on and prioritizing it, and, taking chips at it. And as you complete those tasks, you start to find just momentum to do, other smaller tasks because you're getting closer to that self-identified goal. And so, as far as your question, like specifics, software and technology, I use ClickUp to help with some project management stuff. I also use an app called, Actions by Moleskin. They have an app that I use it as my daily planner, and I like, take some time at the top of the week to plan out my week, and I write it there, and I can do recurring tasks, and it's really helpful. And then I've just started to use Notion a little bit. I'm kind of documenting some systems and processes. Actually, I got a buddy who's doing, um, he's starting this product called Fire Yourself, but the whole idea is, replacing yourself with tasks you may not need to be doing. But I'll stop there because I feel like I'm talking a lot, but that's my 2 cents.
We need to do a whole room on Darage's, I've said this before, right? Like on Darage's like kind of workflow, which is always amazing. But I think Daraj make a good point. Technology is really good. I think another thing worth bringing up here is that there's a lot of we don't really talk about a lot of preventative things that we can do around stress, which is, be organized, be diligent, don't try to do things to not create that stress in the first place. We're always really focused as humans on what can we do after that stress happens to us, or this thing that is going to happen. We even stress about the stress happening to us. But what we really should also consider tonight and in other times in our lives is how to prevent that from happening. So task management, which is really good. I use Airtable. I know the guys do like Airtable as well. I love Google and being able to share things. And really, for me, we've tried every single piece of technology under the sun. And to be truthful, if I'm being honest, which is what this room is about, a lot of them really stress me out. They really do. Like having to really deep dive and learn a lot of those things are very stressful, taking the time to get into it. Airtable was one of those things for me. I'm super glad I did it now, but I think it comes back to being able to, for me, leaning on my friends. My best friend is a super tech guy. He created systems for us that reduced probably 10 to 15 hours worth of work in my week by using Airtable and other things. I don't know that I could have done that on my own. So it comes back to, okay, technology, but really relying on other people if you can, or delegating those things, or hiring people if you can afford it, or asking for help. And I think that's a good theme, regardless of whether we're talking about technology or songwriting or anything. Ask for help. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable and to admit that you don't have all the answers, or to admit that you don't know certain things or don't have specific strengths. Admit them and ask for help, because I think that's probably for me, the hardest part that I had to learn in my life.
Could I just add something to that?
Jump in,
That's
Lauren.
great stuff.
Yeah.
So I've learned that procrastinating can cause stress. So say you have a bunch of cue sheets you have to fill out, or invoices, or you have sort of like a tedious task. The more you procrastinate, the stressful, the more stressful it can become. And so, like, facing these tasks and jumping into them rather than putting them off will help with your stress levels. And learning to do this, learning to to attack the things you procrastinate, changes like the neurons. Actually, there's this course I took earlier this year called Learning How to Learn by Barbara Oakley. I think it was on Course RA or something like that. And that's where I learned about the Pomodoro thing. That's where I learned about facing the things that you procrastinate, because you can actually change the way you think about things. Has been mentioned many times so far in this room. And many times these things are stressful, but you can face them and learn techniques to learn how to make your life less stressful, and learn how to become more productive and efficient.
I
Lauren, that's
think you
so
made a
good. Go
great
ahead.
point. I'm sorry, Tommy. I
No,
didn't
no,
mean to.
no. Please, please, please go.
No, I think you made a really good point, because there's one side where we can be very perfectionistic, especially in the music industry. You have to be, right? And then there's also a side where you are kind of putting off and procrastinating, not sure why, probably because of perfectionism and not really wanting to face it. So what needs to happen in that situation is being able to know yourself. For one, why am I doing this? Why am I feeling like I need to be a perfectionist, or why am I feeling like I need to procrastinate? And then dealing with that, right? So being able to say, you know what, I'm going to take 5 minutes and meditate, and I'm going to do these self affirmations, and that I am good enough, and whatever I put out is going to be accepted by everyone that I want it to be accepted by. And being able to say that this is really good, even though it may not be perfect, because I feel like we strive for that, but that can cause stress just like procrastination does. So being able to manage your knowing that you are stressed out, whether it's procrastination or whether it's perfectionism, being able to identify that and then being able to figure out how you can handle it, because you have to pour into yourself before you can pour into the rest of us who are your listeners, who are your fans, right? So we have to make sure that we're putting ourselves, as my mom would say, take care of number one because number two ain't you. So you have to take care of yourself in order to give back to the rest of us in the world that are listening to your music. So I just wanted to make sure that that was underscored because that was a really good point. Okay, I'm gonna be quiet
No,
now.
Lisa, stop saying that.
Yeah,
We
that's
don't
what
want
you're
you to be
here
quiet.
for.
Yeah,
I,
you're
I,
amazing.
yeah,
Wait, Tommy, go ahead.
go
Go
ahead,
ahead.
Seth.
Nope, go ahead.
I'll add on to that in a simple way because this is kind of like what I do, like all of my power of your walk and all that, power of your words, action, your love, and your knowledge. A lot of people want discipline and they want their day to make sense and all those things, but then they wake up and their day is reactive. So this is what I've been doing since I was very, very young, and I promise you it works. I take a proactive step before I go to bed every night to list out 5 things I'm going to wake up and proactively do first, the very first thing, and they don't all have to be work. For me, it's not all work, but I literally write down on a sheet of paper. For me, it's 10. I've done this for years. I write down 10 proactive things that I want to do tomorrow. And the 10th thing on the list is to make my list for the next day. So people are like, wait, that's way too structured. That's way too much of a plan. I promise you, your day is being planned by somebody. It's going to be planned by the phone call. It's going to be planned on by the brief that comes in. Things are going to get chaotic, and your day is going to run according to either somebody else's world or your world. And if I got that sense of accomplishment, that I at least got through 4 or 5 proactive things, it's amazing over 5 days how far that gets you ahead of that and Lauren's right, that procrastination list gets taken off by when you prioritize it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I did one more thing, and I'd give this as the best secret I've ever done. Mentor a lot of athletes, mentor a lot of young people, and I'd watch them play video games. And they would get to play in the video game, and all of a sudden they would die, and they would just push restart. And I would be like an OG going, hey, life isn't like that. You got to finish. You got to work your way through. And they call me coach. And they're like, coach, man, if we die this soon, we're no way we're going to get to a high score. And then I suddenly realized the brilliance of that. So I invented myself a restart button. So I may not do everything as good as anybody else, but I restart a lot. So if my day's not going good, I just restart and look back at my list and go back to 2, 3, 4, 5. And it makes me get a lot of my stress out of the way. Stress is usually built because life is running us versus us running.
Very cool, Tommy. Lisa, I want to jump back to what you were saying for a second because we kind of glazed over it, and I think it's super important with what your mama said. Um, you know, I was just on an airplane yesterday, and I think it's my favorite analogy for life. Put your own oxygen mask on first before you offer assistance. And they do that because most parents and most people will offer help to someone else before they help themselves. But if you don't put your oxygen mask on first, you will run out of air and then you're no good to yourself or anybody else. And I just think that's the most genius kind of analogy for life because you have to take care of yourself or you can't, do it for anybody else. And I know there's a lot of parents in the room, and I'm not a parent, but I've seen it with a lot of my parent friends and anybody who manages teams, which I do. All of your human instinct is to help others first. I think you have to get right, and I'm going to say that out loud to myself, we all have to kind of get right with knowing that it's not a bad thing to take care of number one. It's actually a really important thing. So Lisa, I love that you said that.
Thank you so much, Steph. And that is so true. My mom said that, and I swear I live by that. Like, I have to be able to take care of myself because if I can't take care of myself, then how am I going to be able to pour out to my clients? I have to be on my A game. I can't be in there sick. I can't, do anything because I have to be able to listen and engage with them. I can't just sit there. So I have to make sure. So it's oftentimes I've had to take off. And did I feel bad? Yes, I did, because I knew this particular client I really wanted to work with them on this or that. And I was really excited. And, I'm sick. So I have to take care of myself. And most times we understand, the clients understand. And just like with you, you know, when you like when we see people take breaks, there's so many artists that take breaks, and the next thing you know, when you come back out, you're like, everybody's still excited, like nobody forgot about you. You're still important to us. We missed you, but you have to take care of yourself. So I think we have to think about that, because oftentimes we do want to just push, 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 because we feel this obligation to our fans or to the industry or whatever the case may be. But we have to make sure that we're poured into. If we do not pour into ourselves, there is no freaking way that we can do anything else for anybody else and be the best that we can be. Like, I mean, the one good thing about music or the arts in general is that you can be so flexible in some ways. At least this is a person looking from the outside in. But when you do certain things, or you might think you might have messed up, but you're so talented that you can kind of make it work. And then the crowd goes crazy because you did something very different, but it was kind of cool. But you may have been upset because it was a mess up or it was a mistake. But really, we looked at it walking home, or walking to the car, like, oh my goodness, that was so good what Steph did in that concert. So we have to make sure that we're just being kind to ourselves, because there's going to be times where people just needed to hear what you had to play, and it didn't matter if it was this perfect thing or if it was a little, mistake that you kind of finessed a little bit, and that's okay. So
I'm, gl-
being okay and being kind, I think, is really important.
I'm really glad you came back to the perfection. I think that is, you hit a nail on the head, that that's definitely something a lot of us as artists struggle with. The difference between being good and something being perfect is a line we really have a hard time understanding. Let me transition a little bit. Not transition, but I'm going to do a quick refocus. Actually, to Roger do the full reset. I just want to. We've been having a great discussion, and this has been going really good. So if you're in the room, just raise your hand if you have a tip to share. And if anyone on stage and anyone coming, the tips we've been getting have been awesome. I want to encourage everyone, moderators and people on stage and people coming, to try to let's all give our tips from a personal I perspective, so that we're not, telling other people what they ought to do, but we're sharing what we've done that has helped us navigate particular situations. I think that'll be the most helpful for the night. And with that, Daraj, why don't you get us reset?
Yes, sir. And Kristen, thanks for that question too. It was really great. Got a good combo going. Awesome. So, good evening and welcome to Control Camp, a community built for and by independent artists. I'm one of your hosts, Daraj. Joining me are my co-hosts, Eric Campbell and Steph Fink. And we just thank you for being here. We host rooms every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we interview industry guests and talk about how you can get your music into TV and film. And so you can get to know more about us and all the resources we have available over at controlcamp.com. And also this room that we've been doing and started at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. This will be on our website, Control Camp, as well. So if you missed anything, we'll have that available. And if you haven't already, be sure to tap the greenhouse at the top and follow our club to be notified for every new room we host. And also, I just want to let you all know there is a members only after party after our talk this evening. So around 10 o'clock, we transition out of here and we start the after party. And it is for members only. So As mentioned, make sure you are following the camp, and that way you'll be able to see that room, the after party in your hallway, and kind of come kick it with us. It's a unmoderated room where we just talk everything but music. So come hang out with us. Today's camp discussion, we've been talking about just tips on how you handle stress in the music industry. We know the stresses that can come from, being a creative in this space, the deadlines that show up, the output that's necessary, how we have to show up. And so we just want to just kind of pour back into our community in light of Mental Health Awareness Month and hear from you all. We've been opening up the floor. So we want to hear what you do and how you handle stress as a musician. And so, with that said, I want to kick it back over to Eric and keep it going.
Awesome, awesome. This has been great. So, thank you everyone for the tips. Thank you that we've been keeping this room positive, like all our rooms are. So, we really appreciate that. We're going into we're sharing what we've done that have helped us navigate stressful situations, and we're focusing on sharing from a personal perspective using I words, and we're focusing on what the solution was. And this has been really cool. And we got John Kleinbell up next. What's going on, John? How you doing? Always good to see you.
Hey, Eric, how's it going? How's it going, Garage staff, everybody?
Very,
This
very
is
good.
a great. Um, I've just been. I feel that some of the stuff I'm going to say has already been said like twice. But I think I just want to say a couple of things through my own perspective about this because this is a how to handle stress for me in general. Sometimes I'm great at handling stress, and other times I'm really, really bad at it. And I speak from this, having gone through years and years of therapy, having gone through yoga teacher trainings and read books and integrated. I worked as a project manager for years and incorporating daily tools and tips to start my day off on the right foot and all that stuff. So I think what I wanted to share was just something that comes from my perspective of somebody who, even still to this day, is a 43-year-old man. I'm an adult, and I work every day. I work every other day. Sometimes I work every single day, every day of the week. And sometimes I just utterly fail at managing the stress that comes along with that. And the message I wanted to pass along to everybody is that one thing I have learned to do, I used to be really hard on myself. I used to be incredibly difficult on myself, perfectionist. And what happens now, it's not a matter of if I'm going to crash at some point. It's just a matter of when it's going to happen. I always try to get better at taking care of myself day to day. But I just know I have a very competitive personality, and I'm always pushing myself really hard. I just wanted to pass the message along to anybody who's having a difficult time, even if you're having a difficult time like right now. I just want you to know that it's going to get better. If you hit a wall, it's not the end of the world. I used to beat myself up when I would crash and I just could not get myself up out of bed to get stuff done. What I've learned to do is just to be, and it was said before, just be really nice to myself. Um, Learn to be my own best friend. Let myself recharge. And sometimes it's very inconvenient to whatever my day that I had planned or whatever my weekly goals are, for me to take that time to recharge. But one thing I do know is that when that happens, if I let myself be as lazy as I want, let myself play some video games, watch some videos about the solar system, um, you know, maybe go for a walk if I feel like it. Sometimes it's like the things that are prescribed solutions to feeling better and getting yourself out of a groove. I just don't want to do them. And that's okay. Because usually what happens, it's like I'll do whatever kicking and screaming that I want to do for a couple of days at the most, and then I come back. And it's like, fortunately, I've set one thing I have done is set stuff up in my life so that it's usually not so urgent that I can't put something off a day or two. There's going to be projects where sometimes you just got to buckle up and get it done, but um, you know. We've all been there and done that. But the main message I just wanted to say is that, life is sometimes very difficult. People in the music industry, we're very competitive, we're very driven, we work really, really, we work so freaking hard. And we just need to be really nice to ourselves when we just don't get it done. We hit a wall. It's okay. It usually passes for me in a day or two. You know, it's a thing where I've just learned that's like a quirk in my life that is just going to happen every once in a while, and I'm okay with it. You know.
I think that's really great, John. And I want to say thank you for sharing that because I think one thing that helps everybody is when you realize that you're not alone. I feel like in those feelings, I feel like the world, especially with social media and putting on airs about how we all are doing fucking great all the time, is a really hard thing because you look at everybody else's social media and go, oh my God, so and so and so and so and so and so are all doing amazing. And man, my day is so shitty or this situation is so shitty. I think it's really important to get real, and to be able to hear other people. And the more I think that everybody shares, and I think this is the impetus for this room tonight, I think the more people realize that everyone's in this together. And you know what? Maybe it took a global reckoning of a pandemic for us to all experience a lot of that at the same time to admit it. But I think we're moving towards, I hope, a path where the world is a little more willing to share that now. But I appreciate you we all appreciate yourself, putting yourself out there that way.
Yeah, I want to jump in real quick and kind of give John some flowers because when Eric and I took a 6-figure songwriting course with the Catch the Moon team. That was really, really just to be frank, kind of like life changing for me. Just like some of what was expressed there, and also even seeing, John and how he shows up and just his, vulnerability and energy and positivity and stuff. Like, I mean, I think it's really important to people that you have around yourself, and then monitoring your self talk because at least for me, like I've noticed just a stark difference from the songs that I used to write before. I've kind of made it this significant transition in my music career. I had an album or EP that I did called Goodish, and it was very much kind of talking about just that time where things aren't like horrible, but things aren't the way you want to be, and you're just kind of like this in between place, and then just kind of reckoning that sometimes it's okay to not be okay, and very much even what you were talking about, Steph, as far as like social media, we're always showing like the highlight reel of our lives, like we really don't see like how people really are, how they're really doing, and so like just seeing and having like putting just simple things into practice, like we're talking about how to speak to yourself, you know what I mean, like it's very, very powerful. Like I've come to find out like what you tell yourself, and I didn't realize it like as much until maybe a couple years back, and like Kathy's course and John being a part of that was like really, really eye-opening for me, just helped me to remind, because a lot of times I feel like the stuff that we're kind of prescribed to do, quote unquote, it's not necessarily new information. It's like stuff that we know, and it just kind of seems so. Um, I don't know how to say it. Like it's just so familiar. Like we just kind of brush it off, and it's just like this is really, this really help. You know what I mean? But like that self talk does, immensely. At least I've seen it just shift my inner dialogue and my mood and stuff like that, and help me manage stress. And so I appreciate people like John, what I mean, to be able to share, and even being around like Eric and Steph, like we have group chats all the time, but it's always very upbeat, and so like having that community is vital.
So cool, so cool. Thank you all, and thank you, John, for sharing. That was really, really good, and I appreciate how personal it was. So thank you. All right, I want to keep it moving. Let's go on to got KZ up next. What's up, KZ?
Hey guys, I'm super excited that you guys did this. I literally talk about mental health probably too much almost on my Instagram every day. But I think the biggest thing for me this year, this has been a really big year of healing for me. And I'm already, call myself an empath sometimes, but I just give more emotional energy than I need to sometimes. And I think people are shocked to hear this, but I really don't take on every single gig. And I think as musicians, we're kind of trained to follow the money and take whatever work is there. But to me, it's really not always worth it. And, sometimes I've talked to Steph about this, and it's been like, you have to ask yourself, what does it pay? And what kind of stress does it cause you? And is it worth it? And those questions we need to ask ourselves more often. And also, I posted a couple of days ago, and I was going to highlight what Tommy said earlier. I don't know if he's still in here, but
I'm here. I'm here.
he was. Oh, hey, Tommy. What you said was so profound. I just posted something similar a couple of days ago, but really taking inventory of what your week was like and what led you to feeling the way that you did. I call it my bi-weekly breakdowns. Like every 2 weeks, I swear. I will freak out and be like, nothing's happening. But I have so much cool shit going on. And I'm not bragging, but I really do. But I will, in 2 weeks, feel like complete garbage. And then I take inventory and I'm like, oh, well, I was meeting everybody else's deadlines but mine. I did all of these briefs, I sang songs for clients, and I didn't meet my personal goals. And now I feel like a sack of garbage. Yeah.
I relate to that 100%. And I really appreciate you sharing that. I totally relate to that. I also relate to the whole thing of not taking all the work, or at least realizing as a creator, as a business, that you know that every client isn't an amazing client. I used to work, so before I got into music, I worked in technology. I did project management for a really large consulting firm, and it was really cool. I learned so much there about just organization, managing project, managing teams. And one of the things, though, just how they went out and got work and pitched themselves to companies to do technology work. They had an internal motto called, like best clients only. And so like every client wasn't just about, answering a proposal and submitting for a proposal and just getting the check. It was an internal metric they had of, is this a good client? Are they going to be in business with us for a long time? Are they good people to work with? Do they have a good energy in their culture? Is our culture like, they had all these checks and balances, and it really changed my whole mindset, even as an entrepreneur, of saying, the best way to be in business for a long time is to work with people that you feel good working with, and you have to have more than just did the check clear. And so that really affected me. And so I appreciate you sharing that, Casey.
Eric, I think that is the utmost number one. And I feel like I'm in a great place now. But when I was younger, I strived to be in the place where I said, and I've heard, Casey, you and I, and a bunch of people in this room have had conversations about this, where it's like, everybody says we want to be in the place where you get to pick and choose your clients, right? And what's funny about that too is, like, I'll even find that we are in a place that we get to pick our clients, and even still we make bad decisions sometimes because we go, wow, that's great money, and it's hard to turn down. Because we're built in this business to think, well, if we don't accept this large gig from this large company that's asking us to do something, they might not call us again. And that's a shitty way to think, but unfortunately, it's also a true reality. But I have learned, as Lisa said before, you know what? You could take a break and come back, and generally speaking, it's not the case. Sometimes it is, and that's a real thing. So I don't want to invalidate that, because this industry is a cruel place sometimes. But at the end of the day, for me, I made a decision where I just said, you know what? Not worth my sanity. There are certain projects and certain people, that are just not worth my sanity. And I've also learned that when I do take those projects where I go, great, it was great money, that's where I balance them, because if they're enough money, then I can bring in other people to deal with those people that I don't like. So that's really where you can start to balance things too. And that's, again, surrounding yourself with the team and making sure you have the things that you need, including that money, to do it. Because I do see a lot of people in this room who ask for advice from me, mostly getting stressed out because they're not getting paid enough to be able to put some of that stress or to delegate those things to other people. And people are just asking a little too much for them. And unfortunately, it's something I'm trying to, and I hope everybody does, advocate in this business to stop doing. And I'm going to share one tiny anecdotal thing, but then I want to move on, which is, you know, there's a big trend of asking people to work on spec, and we hate doing it, but people are not paying us. So sometimes we don't always get that thing. We're trying to advocate for ourselves, which I think is something you can all do if you'd like, when you're in the position to do so, to say, hey, would you, and you have to find your own polite way and you have to know who you're talking to when you say these things. But I said to somebody who I'm close friends with today who asked us to do something as a company and asked us to ask the creators, they said, hey, can you do this? And I said, well, would you ask your hairdresser to cut your hair and then say, if I like the way you cut my hair, next time when I get a haircut from you, I'll pay you. And, it was the first time that person was like, wow. And they work for a very large studio. And they said, wow, I never thought of it that way. This industry loves to abuse, unfortunately. And a lot of times you have to realize they don't realize they're doing it.
It's just the
So
way
you
things
have
have
to.
always been done.
Exactly. We're so far down the path of predatory deals or shitty precedences that sometimes you just
Entitlement.
find exactly an entitlement that you just have to chip away at those tiny things. And when given the opportunity, that's one way I've been relieving stress lately is trying to advocate and knowing I might not always win, but it makes me feel better to know that we at least stuck up for ourselves when we could, and we don't always get the chance to do it, but when we can, I live for it.
I want to give Steph her flowers really quick because, Eric, I don't know if you're a water sign, but you seem very emotional, similar to me. And I think a reason that both of us said that we can work under quick timelines is especially when working for Steph. Steph does a great job of making you feel valued as an artist, and like all of your work is purposeful. And I think that's really the only goal you would have as an artist, is to serve a purpose in some way. And Steph does such an amazing job of making everybody feel valued and useful.
Totally,
Aw,
totally
thanks,
agree.
Kay.
Although
She
I'm
does.
an
Well,
air,
She does a good. Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
I was just gonna say I totally agree, but I'm a Gemini. I'm an air sign, so I just want to represent for the air
There,
signs.
there you go. Represent for. I'm a Libra, so I'm kind of going both ways, I guess, balancing it out. And Steph does that for everybody, and not just in the music business. It's just who I've learned that she is. But I teach the Power Walk series, and we're not going to talk about that, but it's the power of your words, your action, your love, and your knowledge. And I tell everybody, I love me some me. I'm going to love me some me. If you don't love me, I'm going to protect that. I'm going to love me some me. But that first word is so important. When I really recognize from my background really where a lot of my issues came from and a lot of my stress came from and a lot of my, quite frankly, everything came from, is those words that were spoken over me and those words that I was speaking. And I am very careful to protect the words on a daily basis. Not only the words that come out of my mouth, but the words I allow people to speak to me. And that even goes into your business deals. So Steph just did that. If those people were sitting there saying words to her that just didn't represent her value proposition, then it was okay for her to step back in and make people realize. So I think it starts so much with the words that we're speaking to each other. And I will say this in the industry, if I could change one thing, if you play a song, people immediately want to tell you what's wrong with it. It's like, why don't we tell the 10 things that are right with it? If we pitch a song, people are going to always tell us, yeah, this is really great, but. And so what I've learned to do is take those words for a grain of salt and recognize that that's just part of the industry. There's a lot of great songs out there, and I'm just not going to get hung up on these negative words. I'm just not going to allow them in my life.
Very good stuff. Oh, Carter. Yep. Let's get Carter in quick, and then we're gonna move on to get these last few questions. Jump in, Carter.
Oh, I'm sorry. I actually didn't realize that I had
Oh,
my
did you
mute
unmute it?
button off. But I will take the time to just say that I totally agree with that, Eric. It's like you, it goes back to the stories that we tell each other and the stories that we allow ourselves to live in. If it's not right, make a different story, and it's up to you to decide where you live in this narrative called life.
And that's true, Carter, right? It's that easy. You really get to re-speak your story. And when I started re-speaking the words and not what I was supposed to be, but who I wanted to be and all those things, my life changed drastically. And so we really do get to be the editor and we get the final say. And so it goes away from then being, I didn't have this, I didn't have that, to because I didn't have this, because I didn't have that, that's what makes me be able to be what I am today, to be able to make something out of myself. So we do get to have the final script.
That's right. We've got final cut privileges.
All right, let's. This has been awesome. All right, let's continue. Thank you, KZ, for that question. That sparked a lot of good comments. And let's go to Kristen Motor. How's it going? What tip you got for us today?
Hey, you guys. I'm just resonating so much with everything that's being said in this room right now. I just want to give actually flowers to this room, and I consider you all family. It's just like it feels so safe here. So thank you so much. So I love what Tommy said about lists, and of course everything you say, Tommy. I really enjoy hearing you speak. Because I list out things a lot, and often I will make long lists of just everything I need to do, and for some reason it kind of gets done because it's been put out for me visually to see. And also, I'm really a proponent of therapy. I think it's really helped me figure out what I really own in a situation, and as well as just like reweaving my emotional fabric for the things that might have happened, or things that have happened throughout my life. So that's Stephen was talking about therapy, and also Lauren, and I just feel like it's been a really huge thing for me, positively. Also, just like build a team. There's like all so many wonderful things being said. Really surround yourself with positive people. That has been huge for me. I used to pour all my energy into other people and their successes, and I finally have been able to do that for myself. And it's just been a wonderful experience. So, and then also like nature, getting out, giving myself time. I ride a motorcycle, and it's the only thing that makes me feel completely present in a moment. Um, my mind's always going. My mind is always thinking, creating. I work a lot. I really love to work, but I really have to force myself to be present sometimes, and that's the only thing that helps me with that. I just have a couple more things, but manifesting has been huge for me, and I think some people call it law of attraction. Some people feel it is part of their faith, or faith is also a really important thing, I think. But just manifesting a beautiful, positive life and believing that, we're all badasses. There's an amazing book that I read that just changed my life, and it's called You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. And it just completely changed my thinking, kind of how Tommy is saying. You have to keep those words that you speak to yourself, and the words that are spoken over you, as positive as possible. And yeah, sorry.
Oh, Kristen, sorry. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna pause you for a minute because I want to
Yeah.
talk about the manifesting thing, and I'm also gonna hold on. If we have time, we'll come back to a couple more things because we have a short
Sure.
amount of time and a couple people on the stage. But I so appreciate what you're saying, and I think something we didn't really touch on is what you said before. We've been sort of skirting around it as the manifestation thing. I think that's a really smart thing. It's like, you said, some people manifest, through their faith or spirituality. Some just say the universe. That's another really prime example of, you don't have to be religious to be spiritual or to believe in the universe or whatever it is you believe. Everybody kind of looks at that differently, but I think that kind of leads back to kind of being the power of positivity. And if you kind of go into the world saying, man, today's going to be a shitty day, then generally speaking, you're going to have a shitty day. Or if you're going to walk into that session and say, oh, this is going to be, I don't like this person, it's going to be crappy, it's kind of common sense there that it's going to be crappy if you go in with a bad attitude, but we don't think about it like that. So I think that's super important. But I appreciate everything that you've just said and all the tips you've been giving. And I'm going to kick it back to Eric. And then if we have some time, we'll take a second pass.
Actually, just had one last thing to say, and then I'm finished. And I'm going to say, we as artists have a large resilience muscle, and being an artist is a special gift that we share with the world. It's a hard job, but it's so important. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Kristen. All right, very cool, very cool. All right, let's go to Carrie. Carrie, you got a
Oh,
tip for
hey,
us today?
hey, man, yeah, I definitely got a tip or two, and love what everyone's saying. How everyone's different viewpoints are on this. I mean, I've been doing this full time since 1994, and I've definitely had to acquire some things. Although I don't know if I'm going to be as eloquent in pointing them out, because I always kind of have to categorize where my stresses are. There's the here's a job and it's got to be done stress. The I have downtime, and do I stress about I need to do all this other stuff related to jobs, or do I like need to stress out about that I don't have a job in right now? And then there's the general overall stress. So I find now, especially for me, getting a full night's sleep is number one. Because just no matter what, if I try and work late, I got to get up late. Otherwise, I'm just behind the ball when I get up. I have to learn that when I want to go to sleep, I had to learn to leave work behind, once that door's closed. Otherwise, it'll process subconsciously, I've found, no matter what. But I don't have the active stress. I don't have like dreams about work that I used to at the beginning of the career, which is pretty bad. And then for me, I got to be in the right mood to really be able to be effective, because when I'm enjoying things, I just am better, I'm faster, and I'm more decisive. So if I'm feeling logy or slow, yeah, like the cold shower, running outside, something to just kind of wake my body up so it's more awake. But if it's a little more mental, I'll just try and find ridiculousness. Either if it's watching some comedy for a minute, or just think about the ridiculous things that are in the job you're doing. It's like this client asked me for something that's not kind of my wheelhouse. Like, what makes them think I can do that? Well, okay, let me check out what the references are. I can find the funniest thing, and then I find at least I get started on it. And I may have some energy, and then I'll take a break after each segment. Like, I hate programming drums, so program drums, and then I'll be like, take a break, walk away, uh, get some nature, see a friend, talk to someone, and then come back. And then I'm like, oh, hey, that's not bad at all. I kind of like it, just need a tweak or two. And I did that thing that I hate, and it's done. Now I can move on to doing the part I enjoy, which is everything else. And the third thing I found, which just kind of comes with time, is just learn to fail, have disasters so that you know what failure feels like and that you know you will come through the other side of it. I mean, this year's been good for that for a lot of people, because there's definitely been a lot of uncertainty and you come through it. But I mean, I've had other things like a house I was living in, kind of like the foundation collapsed while I was working in it and the house didn't collapse. It was extremely stressful at the moment, but at least now every time anything comes up, I'm like, at least the house isn't falling down on me. So get comfortable with that, because even if you're like, oh, I'm a failure, I didn't get this job, or this client didn't call me back, being in this game at all and having anyone return your calls and ask you for any work is still success. So there's going to be a lot of failures, a lot of setbacks, but you just keep moving forward. At least you're in it. The
Harry.
biggest thing to metric of success in the business is that you're in the business. So keep staying in the business and you'll get there.
That's amazing, Carrie. Carrie just dropped the most important, we'll call it, because we love saying gem in Clubhouse, but that was a huge gem. It really was.
Thanks.
Perspective, having perspective is everything, and not, we haven't really talked about it that much today. Having perspective, being okay with failure, knowing that this bad thing happened, but is it the end of the world? I love it. I'm going to kick it back to Eric to keep it going. We're going to ask everybody to pick your top tip, since we only have a short amount of time and we want to make sure we could get everybody. So pick the most, your kind of favorite tip.
Awesome,
Who do we got
awesome.
next?
Yeah, we got Albert next. Albert, what's your tip for the day?
Hey, thanks, Eric. Thanks, guys. I think, piling on to what was just said in perspective, it's give yourself permission. And that's been a real challenge for me. And what I mean by that is give yourself permission to take the break, to do the walk, to back yourself away from the work for a little bit to get your head straight. It's a challenge because I live in a world of, and I think this is shared by a lot of us here, live in a world of a fear of missing, where you're missing an opportunity, a gig, a brief, whatever it might be. And I personally have a problem with saying no, and I'm trying to get better at that. Um, before the pandemic, I was in. I also took six-figure songwriting, and it did rock my world and change my life and change my perspective and put me on the songwriting path. And in to really focus, which has been wonderful. But I'm also a performing musician, and before the pandemic, there were gigs, but it seemed like right after the pandemic, or right after the pandemic, since things are opening up a little bit, I have three band projects that I'm juggling, plus writing, plus a day gig, and I'm learning to manage it, and it is stressful. Problem is I adore the three bands, and I don't want to give anything up. It's almost like dating three women at the same time. One's a great cook, the other one's got a wonderful personality, and the other one is laughs at my jokes. I don't know which one to say no to, and it's a challenge. But giving myself permission to back away from it and to say maybe I shouldn't take this particular gig, or shouldn't do this because it's taking time away from songwriting, which is really the first love in the four things. So, you know, I think that if one the single one tip is to it's okay to back away. It's okay to say no, and that's been my biggest challenge. But I think that's my biggest advice.
That's great advice, Albert. Thank you.
I love it. Yes, thanks. Great advice. Saying no is one of the first things I think if I look back on terms of like my progress in the career, turning other things down and which allowed me to focus was probably one of those self development things hurdles I think I got over that helped me. They help propel me in a lot of other ways. So it's an awesome tip. Thank you. Um, Next, we have. We've got 25 minutes left. Just in case you're in here, this is Control Camp. We are sharing tips about how you handle stress in the music industry. If you will keep hand raising up for another 10 minutes, if you've got one tip that you want to share about how you have navigated stress in your as a musician, as an executive, in whatever role in the music industry you might play, and you want to share for the room, just raise your hand and we will pull you up. With that, we've got Brandon. What's your tip, Brandon?
Hey, hey everybody, how you doing? Just a quick tip for me, and this has probably been echoed a lot tonight. But I guess the big thing for me that helped me out a lot was just understanding again, it's okay to like make time for yourself to just enjoy something that you like. I apologize, my son's with me, so sorry about that. But like it's just a quick story that I had was that I had a weekend where I was, we're supposed to be working on a project, and I just didn't have it in me, and I literally just um, sat and played Sonic the Hedgehog for like the full weekend, and it was like the best decision I ever made in my life because I had for the longest I had any free time that I had would just be spent on music, and so I would just really say that um, you know, it's okay to make time to watch a movie, play games, or whatever you can do to just give yourself time to enjoy. Because a lot of times for me, it relieves a lot of stress, but also gives me a lot of inspiration to go back in and really like attack the goal. So that's really what I just wanted to share. So thank you.
That is great advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. Appreciate it. All right, next we got Herman. What's up, Herman? What tip you got for us?
What up, people? How you guys doing? What I have for you is this year. I was kind of, I guess, given the opportunity. I mean, my life path took me to the road of therapy and kind of put mental health in the focus of my life that I hadn't had before. So I want to share something that I kind of learned through that that has really, I don't know, it really helped me out. I mean, it's either that or the 5 milligrams of Lexapro, but let's just talk about this for the time being. So there's something called, stress. A lot of the times comes from your mind, comes from like the things that you tell yourself, that you think yourself, and there are these things called cognitive distortions, which apparently we are all prone to have them, suffer from, experience them, what have you. Cognitive distortions are basically thoughts that it doesn't matter that the reality is not like that. You tell yourself, and they're not true. You know, I have actually some uh, papers on this that my therapist gave me. If anybody wants to just DM me and I'll hand them to you, because this an information. Like some of the cognitive distortions that you find are magnification and minimization. Exaggerating or minimizing the importance of events. One might believe their own achievements are unimportant or that their mistakes are excessively important. Catastrophizing, seeing only the worst possible outcomes of a situation, overgeneralization, making broad interpretation from a single or few events, magical thinking, personalization, jumping to conclusions, mind reading, interpreting the thoughts and belief of others without adequate evidence, fortune telling, the expectation that a situation will turn out badly without adequate evidence, emotional reasoning, disqualifying the positive, should statements, all or nothing thinking. They all have a little description and whatnot. And I mean, to me, just being aware of this became it really sort of changed it. I thought at first I thought, well, my mind just works like that, and this is what I think, and this is what it is. But understanding that there are such things and such certain thoughts that are just, you know what I mean, that are just kind of like a behavior and not necessarily true, and that can lead you down that rabbit hole of stress. It's just it really changed for me. Some of the things that they recommend to get over this, and whenever you are having these thoughts and they're leading you down that rabbit hole and it's churning that stress, and you're just walking around the table in your house and building a little trail in there, and you don't know what's like. Basically, they say some of the things that they recommend is stop. Stop before your thoughts create the worst possible scenario and your body straight reaction escalates. Just stop, then breathe. This will bring your attention into the present moment, and this will also release physical tension and decrease your body stress reaction. Be mindful with your breath and your mind's foundation. Observe your thoughts, observe your physical sensation and feelings. Be open, accepting, and non judging. And then reflect. Once you've broken the pattern of automatic reactions to the thoughts, you can focus your attention in a conscious and constructive manner. The following questions might be helpful. What is happening here? Why am I reacting this way? What are my automatic thoughts? Am I exaggerating the situation with negative thinking? Can I be more clear or constructive with my thinking? Is there a constructive or positive way to frame the situation? What is my intuition telling me? What is my heart telling me? What is the most important to me? What are my options? And then I don't know, you kind of come down. I haven't really done all those things, to be quite honest with you, but just knowing that there exist certain things where your mind will just take over and just start driving down the wrong lane, and you're just being aware of that and kind of like stopping, it really like eased up a lot of the thoughts that build up the stress while I'm doing this work. The whole, is this good enough? And like, then if I don't do this, I'm never gonna make it. And like all it just kind of like changed it a little bit, that, and having this type of environment, this type of rooms, the last time we talked about anxiety in a room like this, that was a very a key moment for me this year. But yeah, that's my suggestion. If anybody needs to hear a little bit more about that, or wants to read about that, just shoot me a DM. I'll send you those papers, check them out, and that's what I got.
Amazing. I'm gonna very quickly do the key takeaways there. all of that was great, which is, not speculating, which is something we do a lot as artists because we're guessing if, a client is happy with our work or if we did a good enough job or all those things. There's a lot of people who will have these conversations with me, who will remain nameless in this room, but at least 10 of you have had conversations with me where they laugh at me because I go, who cares? Why do you care? And that's not because I'm being flippant about something. It's just kind of, you have to stop and say to yourself sometimes, or I like to stop and say to myself sometimes, and if it works for you, you can try it too. Does this matter? Is it that important? Or are we putting too much, stress on ourselves because we're making it into something way bigger? What's the worst thing that's going to happen if we don't get this gig, or if they don't like our song, or all those things? So I think it's really good, Herman. That was a lot, but all really important stuff. Kate, we got you up next.
Hey, so I'm out doing my mental health walk at the moment, which is one of the things I do. But Herman's tip was a good setup for my tip, which is that when you notice that you're spiraling and you're beating yourself up or you're going into some negative thought pattern, for me, I have my Cheer the Heck Up playlist, which are songs that I sing to myself, especially when I'm having a total meltdown. So it starts with a song called The Last Blues Song, which I originally learned from the Helen Reddy version, but there's a better Jeanette somebody version on Spotify that's much more the way I sing it. But it lets you whoa, whoa, whoa to your heart's content. So if I'm having a seriously major meltdown and just bawling my eyes out, I will just say, okay, it's time to sing. And I will start singing this song and it makes me laugh. It just cracks me out of it. It just busts through and turns me around. But I continue with some songs that I actually wrote for kids because I have a whole workshop that's on all of these topics about manifesting. If you think you can, what lights me up, when I talk to myself, am I kind, take care of yourself, imagine the best. So I have a whole workshop of songs created for kids that really I wrote for me. So I use them to cheer myself up and turn myself around. And so those down times that used to maybe last for a couple of days or a week, I can usually turn around in half an hour to an hour because I just belt out these crazy songs and just break through that mental trap
Kate,
of
I
going into
love
the negative.
this. I love this because you made an important point. It's what we do to kids. If you either have kids or you babysit, I was just with my nieces the other day. We are so good as adults to tell kids, when they get upset, what do? Babies, kids, we sing, we soothe, right? We sing to calm down. We sing to, be happy. We sing to distract. And, we're a bunch of musicians. So I love that you just gave the ultimate tip. I can relate. I'm sure a lot of people in this room can relate to
Yeah,
using
put
music
on your
to
favorite beats,
stress.
your favorite party songs, whatever
Yeah.
it is that instantly takes you to your happy place. We all have those. And
Super,
you just can't,
super cute.
like songs you can not hold still to, put those on and it instantly gets the endorphins going and lets you start thinking about something else.
That is
I love
awesome,
it. And
Kate.
if you're not, yeah, go ahead, Eric. If you're not a music person, I love someone else's tip before that we didn't really talk a lot about. Make yourself laugh in some respect, which is kind of what you were just saying too. Watch a show, watch something silly, do something silly, be with your friends, whatever you do to, make you laugh. It's always those simple things that we forget to kind of do sometimes. Dave, you're up next.
All right. Thank you so much. So many great tips here. My tip I wanted to share is something that Kathy Heller said when I went through the six-figure songwriting course. I know many of you did as well, but it kind of goes along with a lot of the things we've been talking about. For me, it's the stress is with perfectionism. I'm a recovering perfectionist when it comes to my music, and so I'm relatively new in the business. And so a big turning point for me in that course and taking this journey when she said something along the lines of give yourself permission to make mediocre things until you make brilliant things.
And so that's something I just want to share, is hopefully maybe somebody in the room needs to hear that right now, because that was a turning point for me. Because for years, I mean, I've been writing music for most of my life, but I know what sounds good. I know the songs that sound good. And when I would be done with a song, I was like, yeah, that doesn't sound like it's right for radio. So I wouldn't do anything with it. So it was just a hobby for years and years. But then once I had that turning point of giving myself permission to make mediocre things until it make brilliant things, then it started a process. Now I'm actually, producing my own music and still growing, but the same principle continues to apply no matter what level you're at, to keep pressing forward and doing the new thing, the next thing that you haven't tried yet, or the next level. So now I'm writing all kinds of new songs and able to produce them to varying levels of success. But I just wanted to pass that along as a tip that maybe somebody needs to hear and be reminded of.
That is a great tip, Dave. Thank you so much for bringing that. I really, really love that. I remember hearing that from Kathy, and I'm so glad you reminded us about that. That's awesome. Jen, we got you. Are you unmuted? But I think you must be in a really noisy place, Jen, because it's really loud.
Is it really loud?
Oh, well, not
Okay.
when you talk. Maybe because when you talk, you're talking louder. It's just like it's
Is it
windy or
better?
something. That is better.
I am. I'm walking. I'm walking by the beach. Also, my de-stressor. So I've turned my back to the wind so I could talk to you. So
This
hopefully
is
that
great. Yeah,
helps.
that sounds good.
Okay, awesome. Hi, guys. Okay, one big thing and then one quick little sentence at the end of that. The first tip is along the lines of focus, which everyone's been talking about. And the tip is to, when you get too caught up in your head, is to help others. It sounds so simple, but whether it be like a simple conversation or like what you guys do, starting up a clubhouse room to share or serve, or taking on a charitable endeavor, because it helps you take yourself out of your own headspace where you're just focusing on you and your problems and you, because that's just what we do. It's just another kind of a break, right? That you can give yourself. And giving is contagious, and giving is getting, and all that good thing. So to focus on someone else more often, I think is a good break. It puts, again, things in perspective, which we've talked about already. My very last super simple thing is along the lines of giving yourself permission, that I haven't heard anyone say exactly, is we all can be really competitive and sometimes prideful people to a fault, is to ask for help. I had a really big time with that for the longest time, because I just I'm stubborn, and I want to do it myself. I want people to be proud of me and to like me and say I did it on my own. And so a lot of times I don't ask for help, and I think ask for help. And that's it. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you so much, Jen. Really appreciate that. Great stuff. And homie psychosis is next. Good, great way to close out, because I know you always bring the wisdom to the stage. So appreciate you having you. What you got for us, man?
Hey, what's good, people? First of all, shout out to everybody who's been in the room tonight and dropping gems and stuff, as already said. I really want to go back and just really highlight, like, Herman, I really appreciate you being as transparent and sharing the fact that you went to therapy and what you got from therapy, and how you were willing to share that with other people. Because the only thing I really want to say is, for me, the thing that helps deal with stress the most is to stop thinking about me. Like, the biggest thing that helps me is helping someone else. And sometimes you can do that too much. You can lose yourself in trying to appease everyone. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying refocusing and recalibrating and realizing, like, it could be so much worse for us sometimes, and that the value that you may have added to someone else's life or someone else's goal, or helping somebody get to point A to B, which for you might not have been nothing, but for them might have been everything. For me, those are my biggest pathways, if you will, to peace, and to not going down the rabbit hole of anxiety and depression and stress. It's finding a situation where, one, I can detach, and I can, if I can, because that's not always possible. We got lives and families and careers and stuff we got to worry about. But if you get a chance to detach for yourself,
then take that, learn your own triggers, learn when you need a break, learn when you're being on edge, learn when you're being bitchy and you need to chill. But the other side of that is sometimes just looking at someone else and realizing, like, man, you know what? I could do the most good by helping this person. And that satisfaction that you get from helping someone else might actually de-stress. Psychosis, I love what you just said, and let me give you your flowers too, because Psychosis, for those of you who don't know him, in our room, in social media, in other places, is always kind of really just bringing positivity and light to a lot of places, and also helping a lot of people gain perspective, which again is like one of the most important things. And one thing that I love about you that we haven't really talked about here is that you're a whole human. And I think that's really critical in the music industry. I think there's a lot of pressure to be just a musician and that your whole life has to be the music industry. And I think that that's a slippery slope, because you can wake up one day with, and I did that once, where I woke up where I lived in Midtown Manhattan. I was 20 nothing, stuffing cash into my mattress. I was working on gigantic projects with labels, and I was very, very, very depressed. I was super sad because I worked so hard that I missed a lot of friends and a lot of family events and a lot of things that could have or should have been important to me at that time. And I didn't have any balance, which we haven't, that's the word we haven't said tonight, which I think is really important too. Give me the balance. But Psychosis, I love that you were a successful musician and you're having a tremendous amount of success in that realm, but you're also successful in real estate. And I watch you make families' dreams come true, by posting, hey, we sold them their house and we got them their thing that they needed. So I think, you know, you're wrapping all of the things in that statement. And of course, it's amazing that you're last, because you're kind of bringing all the things that we talked about, into one. Being of service to others, by, making yourself feel better kind of that way. Being a whole human by, not just focusing or hyper focusing on the music portion of things, um, you know, being a good person and recognizing all of those things are, kind of four of the big topics for tonight. So thank you for being amazing and thank you for sharing that with us. And Lisa, even though you're not, you're an honorary musician tonight, I hope you come back again, because having someone, professional in our space to kind of validate some of those things and give us the advice that you have tonight is really special, because just to reiterate for the room, we are obviously not mental health professionals as you are. So we really appreciate you having tonight. And Eric, let me kick it back to you, because I think Psychosis is last. And I think we're getting
Yep,
ready to wrap up here.
that was the last question, which was really really awesome. So let's what I'd like let's since we're doing great on time, let's take a quick minute. Carter, if you have any last words you want to say, and I'd love Lisa to have a wrap up. Just any last observation just from being in the room. We would love to hear before we close. Starting with Carter, if you have anything you want to add. Oop, Carter, you there? Might have stepped away. All right, Lisa, any last thoughts? Anybody there? Uh-oh.
I'm sorry. I'm new at this. I was like, where's the microphone?
No
Yes,
worries.
thank you so much for giving me a chance to just reiterate basically everything you all were saying. Definitely making sure that you put yourself first. And when I talk to my clients about this, I think about it like a bullseye that you throw darts at. The most important circle is that middle circle, that inner circle. And that is you. That is you. And then those circles that are immediately outside of you are your inner circle, the people that care about you, the people that support you. Just remembering that, and then after that, those might be acquaintances, and then the rest of us, whoever those people are. But just making sure that you take care of yourself so that you can kind of spread yourself out to other people. And yeah, it is true that sometimes being able to distress does help you to does help when you can help other people, but still make sure that you have poured enough into yourself to give to other people, because sometimes we'll help people and we're not well at all, and then we'll help them and then we're still going back to our depressed state or our anxious state or our stressed out state, and that's not good. And just being kind to yourself. I think we've said that a lot today. You know, everything is not going to be perfect. Everything is not going to be, on our timing. You know, thinking about the universe, spirit, whatever that is, that big thing that you talk to or worship to or whatever, just making sure that you have that in mind as well. And if it's not something, knowing that you are still a part of a bigger thing, this universe, that's real. You know, we can see that. So just knowing that you matter, I feel like that's important too, and that your music matters. I mean, music is what, to me, I mean, thank you for the honorary status, because I know Eric through music. Even though I don't consider myself a musician, I do play some things. But I feel like it is so important to our culture. I mean, that's something that can bring us all together at some point. So just realizing that you are important because of what you do, but then also making sure that you take care of yourself and you're being kind to yourself and challenging those cognitive distortions. Thank you so much, Jermon, for saying that. Challenging those cognitive distortions, not just letting them fester and spiral in your mind, but challenging them because they're not true. And I'm just going to end with that. I would love to come back and chill with you all and talk to you and hear what you guys say about these tips and everything. And I hope that you guys are listening these things and having them available some kind of way, because I think it's so helpful that people can have them and go back to them when they need it in the most desperate hour. Thank you again for the invite, Eric, and thank you for the honorary mention, Stephanie. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. That was just amazing. I'm so glad you were able to come here and share. It's really, really helpful. Oh, I see Carter here. Carter.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'll just quickly reiterate, just care for yourself as you would any other person you loved. Um, what Lisa said is all true. So thank you very much for having me, and I hope that you can all love and respect yourselves as much as you deserve to.
Share with us. Daraj, Steph, any last words?
No, I'm just thankful that we had this room. This is a super, super important topic, and it's very important to me as well. It's something that I've, been on a journey to continue to, um, just groom myself with, and just trying to strengthen that side of just, making sure my mental health is intact. So I'm glad we were able to, have a night like this. So yeah, Steph, I'm gonna kick it to you to close us out.
I would just end the night by saying, similar to a lot of the other, I say this in a lot of our rooms, just remember that we're all in this together, and no matter, again, what level that you're at in your career or life. I think Lisa talked about something we should have maybe even talked about or could have talked about more, is just remembering that you're in the universe with other people and perspective is everything, but to have empathy, for yourself as much as you have for others. It's been something that's been very unfortunately severely lacking in the world right now with COVID and everyone's kind of political, issues and things that are happening. Remember that, be kind and treat people the same way that you want to be treated. It sounds so simple, but it's really critical. But to treat yourself the same way as that you know, want to be treated. It's kind of the old "you give what you get" sort of thing. But I think that's it. I'm really proud of everyone in this room. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for sharing. I know that there were a lot of people that had texted me, Eric, Daraj, saying, "Hey, do you mind if I come in and just listen tonight?" Everybody was, amazing. So thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for giving such great tips. Thank you for always making this community such a welcoming place. We love you all. And we thank you. We're so grateful for all of you. And good time to remind you what Lisa said. We do make all of our rooms available. You can go to controlcamp.com, CTRLcamp.com. And you can sign up for Patreon, and you can get all of our previous rooms. And we're going to keep, finding new ways to bring more of the information out and continue these conversations when we're offline as well. So if you have tips and ideas, feel free to share them through the website there. And that's it. Eric, want to kick us off to the after party?
Awesome. If you're not following us, click on the greenhouse above me. And when you follow the camp, when you click that, it'll let you follow the camp. Once you follow us, the after party will show up in your hallway, and you are welcome to join if you're a member of Control Camp. We don't pull people up to the stage by any status. Anyone who wants to come up to the stage, just raise your hand and you're up. And we talk about everything except music. So it's a great way to just get to know the other people in the camp. And we've made some really good relationships just by hanging out in the after party. So if you're able to hang out, come see us over there. Otherwise, we will see you. When do we see you next? Are we here this Saturday? Or did we just do a listening session? No, or is it this Saturday?
We should be here this Saturday.
Yep, we'll be here this Saturday for a listening session. So if you want to play a song and have it reviewed for its sync potential, come through this Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. And you can go to controlcamp.com to submit your song. We have a great time there and a really good turnout. And otherwise, we'll see you Saturday next week. But hang out if you can and come chill with us at the after party. Thanks so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Carter. Thank you, Lisa, Dr. Sims. And we'll see you all later.